All right, let's get right into it. We're about to go deep inside one of the biggest food security programs on the planet. And we're going to see how a system that was built to be a lifeline for the poor gets twisted into a massive, profitable scam that actually steals food right from their plates.
And this right here really says it all. You've got this incredible promise on one side to feed millions of the most vulnerable people. But then the reality couldn't be more different. A thriving black market that makes money off their hunger. That huge gap between the promise and the reality, that's what we're going to unpack.
So, first things first, we need to understand what this lifeline was supposed to be, in the first place, and then we can get into how it was so completely betrayed. So the Public Distribution System, or PDS, is basically a government safety net. The whole idea is simple and noble. Make sure that people living in poverty can get essential food, like rice and wheat, at a price they can actually afford. It's supposed to be this fundamental shield against hunger.
But here is the absolute gut punch. This isn't just a case of a few bad apples or some minor leaks in the system. No. The reality is that this vital safety net is fundamentally broken. We're talking about corruption that's woven into every single layer of its operation, from top to bottom.
Okay, so how do you even rig a system this massive? Well, in this next part, we're going to pull back the curtain and really get into the nitty-gritty of how it all works.
It's the most obvious question, isn't it? If this grain is meant for a specific family, how on earth does it get stolen and sold somewhere else? The answer, it turns out, is disturbingly simple and incredibly effective.
So here's the four-step playbook. First, the shop owner just fakes the records. They log that everyone got their full share. But then, in reality, they give people less than they're owed, or sometimes they give them nothing at all. All that saved grain? That gets sold on the open market for a massive profit. And finally, that cash is pocketed, with a cut going to the officials who are paid to look the other way. It's a well-oiled machine.
But wait, it gets worse. Diverting the actual grain is just one part of the scam. There's a whole other layer of fraud happening with people who don't even exist. So what's up with these ghost beneficiaries? Why are there still so many fake cards in the system?
And this is where technology was supposed to be the hero. The idea was to link everything to digital IDs, a silver bullet to get rid of all the fakes. But the problem is, the rollout has been patchy at best, and in some cases, you have to wonder if it was deliberately left weak, just to keep those profitable loopholes open.
And these ghosts, they come in a few different flavors. You've got cards for people who have passed away but are still in the system. You've got multiple duplicate cards for the same family. And then you have cards that were just made up, totally fake identities. Every single one of these is like an open tap, just siphoning money and food out of the system.
So, okay, we've seen how the scam works, right? But now we have to ask the bigger question. Why? Why is a system with such huge, obvious problems allowed to just keep going? The answer, in one word, is collusion.
It's a fair question, right? I mean, if you show up to get your rations and the shop owner cheats you, your first instinct would be to report them. So why doesn't that happen? Well, the silence of the victims is actually a key ingredient that lets this whole scam survive.
And this quote just hits you right in the chest. This is the fear that keeps people quiet. The person they need to complain about, the dealer, is the one who holds all the power. People are terrified that if they dare to speak up, the dealer will just make a call and have their card canceled, and then they're left with absolutely nothing.
So it all boils down to this really simple and really depressing fact: the watchdogs are in on it. The whole system of checks and balances has collapsed because the very officials who are supposed to enforce the rules and protect people, they're part of the scam too.
Okay, so if you can't rely on individual complaints, what about official oversight? I mean, surely there are things like surprise inspections to catch these guys red-handed, right?
Well, this is where the collusion just becomes shameless. Those surprise inspections? Yeah, they're almost never a surprise. The dealers get a friendly phone call in advance from their partners inside the government, giving them just enough time to cook the books and make sure everything looks perfect for when the inspectors arrive.
So here it is, the corrupt partnership laid bare. You've got the shop dealer on the ground faking the records and stealing the grain. And you've got their partner, the official, who takes a cut of the profits, ignores any complaints, and gives them a heads up about inspections. They protect each other, and the system stays broken.
Now that is a pretty bleak picture, I know. But the story doesn't have to end there. So what's the path forward? Well, when the system fails this badly, the only real answer is to put the power back into the hands of citizens.
And that's the key takeaway here. Yes, the system is deeply, deeply broken, but it is not beyond repair. And the solution isn't some new, complicated layer of bureaucracy. It's about two simple things: radical transparency and real citizen empowerment.
And these aren't just vague ideas. There are concrete tools that could change everything. Just imagine this: mandatory CCTV cameras at every single shop with a live stream anyone can watch online. Imagine getting an automatic SMS alert on your phone the instant a transaction is logged on your card. What about citizen watchdog committees that have the actual legal power to walk in and inspect a shop? And public audits, where the community itself gets to verify the records. These are practical, powerful tools for accountability.
Which brings us right to the final and maybe the most important question of all. These solutions we just talked about, they aren't some far-fetched sci-fi dream. They exist. They're possible. So the real question isn't how we can fix this problem. The real question is, why isn't it being fixed already? Who exactly benefits from keeping this corrupt system just the way it is?